Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and this is Regular Guy Training. I saw this shirt on one of Mr. Guns and Gear's videos, and it's the first fucking thing I've ever bought based off of something that I saw from his channel. It's fantastic. I suggest that you go get it. It's wonderful. Because clearly, I'm not suitable for all advertisers. So, here we go, right? Let's go ahead and talk about a set of sights. Now, I've been using these sights for a while, and I actually personally really like them. It started with me just like handling other guns that people had and stuff like that in classes I've taken in the past, and I've shot with them a little bit. And then over time, I started to see more and more of them on students' guns. Therefore, I was just kind of like, okay, let's give these a shot. Let's try them out. I put them on a set of I put a set of them on a Glock 26. And then, mostly out of pure boredom, there was no real reason as far as like equipment reliability or anything. But I went ahead and decided to put a set of these on my 19. Now, the Trijicon HDs are, in my opinion, excellent sights. Like you could see, personally, there are a lot of things that guys that are into self-defense and all that stuff really like. You can see they have a real aggressive ledge on them, and their high-vis front end is pretty good as far as what you would need as an individual. Now, there are a bajillion different models that are out there. I just got a set that were available in a gun shop, and I was just kind of like, fuck it, let's put them on and let's make them work, right? But for me personally, it was one of those things where I just saw it, and after I started using them on my personal guns for a little while, I really have started to really like them. Now, as far as the sights are concerned, I mean, you guys have seen me shoot enough on the channel to see, okay, he's used 13 sights, a set of Mepros, XS sights. I can run a bajillion different sets of sights. Me personally, though, I really like the fact that not only are they steel, like a lot of other aftermarket sights for Glocks and stuff, but there's a lot of different options as far as front sight, posts, and all that jazz. Now, on this particular set, it had a set of tritium inserts on the front and rear, right? And there was a set of tritium rear, the dots rather on the rear sight, right? And I'm not a huge fan of 3-dot sight setups, so you can actually see that that those are kind of filled in. My wife has had flat black nail polish forever, and for those of you guys to where, okay, you want a set of Trijicon HDs because you like the fact that there's a big old U-notch in them, and the ledge is good and all that, but you're not a fan of the 3-dot sight setup, you can use that as an option to where all it is just flat black nail polish, fill it in, and it stays gone forever. So, aside of talking about the fact that the sights are good, what else could there possibly be to talk about? Well, we can talk about installation really quick. You're gonna need a front sight installation tool, not just for the front sight post, but you're gonna need like one of those push products, right? Where like it's basically a rear sight tool that you can use to adjust it in there, because the sights fit on real tight. Now, is that a bad thing? No, it's absolutely not. But a lot of guys are going to sit there and be like, ugh, about having to either file their sight to get it the right dimensions, or beat it in there with a punch, or both. And a lot of guys, myself included, are not too terribly keen on trying to figure out which one is which, right? Because sometimes you could just beat on a sight with a punch and figure, okay, they fit kind of tight, so let's start filing in them, when they're really just supposed to fit tight, right? Now, there are sight setups out there that are deliberately larger than the notch, so I would be wary about doing that every time, because you can damage things. But these sights are specifically just supposed to be very tight to the notch on the slide, right? So if you have a rear sight drifting tool, that actually works out pretty good. It's not like the tightest thing in the world, where you're sitting there with like a wrench trying to really turn them on there real hard. No, they just fit real tight, which in all honesty is just fine to me. Now, what's kind of cool about the rear sight, or the front sight here, is that a lot of times, a lot of guys have expressed like difficulty in putting their front sight posts on because they want it to make sure that they're straight. What's kind of cool about the very front edge of this front sight post is that you can actually see that it's pretty square, right? And what's cool about it being pretty square is that it's a pretty good way to eyeball how straight that is, and you can certainly take that steps forward as far as how to straighten them out and all that crap. But it works out really, really good in that, you know, you don't really have to do that very much. Just kind of eyeball it, make sure that it's straight, tighten it down, make sure that you're using Loctite and all that stuff, and we're good. Now, a bunch of rounds have been fired through this gun and the 26, and they haven't loosened up at all. But I think that's in part due to the fact that I use gobs of Loctite when I install anything. My method of doing it, because I've seen plenty of front sights fall off of pistols at this point, is I'll put a healthy drop on the screw itself. I'll put a little bit on the inside of the front sight itself, and then as I screw the screw in to the front sight post, I'll screw in, back out, screw in, back out, and then tighten it down, just so that the drop that's on the threads of the front sight post get into not just the threads of the screw itself, but where it's interfacing with the front sight post as well. So everything's got all that stuff, you know, in there really good, and it locks up really tight and stays that way, so that it just prevents things from falling off, that kind of thing. Now, I've had friends of mine make fun of me before because, like, for instance, I've traded or sold optics to people before, and they would go to dismount that optic from the mount that I have to a mount that they prefer or whatever, and they see, like, holy shit, how much Loctite is on here, and it's just slathered on there, and there's all kinds of that stuff just kind of, you know, floating about. And the only thing that I can really have to say to them about that is, you never see my stuff fall off, do you? And then they just kind of concede the point and move on. So, and for guys that wonder if like dripping Loctite and stuff is going to cause any issues with the Glock, first of all, if you just left it there, no, it would probably just eat it up and cycle it out of there. But once I have it, have the screw tightened down all the way, because it's on the inside of my slide, I just kind of go in there with a paper towel and get the stuff that's on the inside of the slide out. No problem, right? So there ain't much really to say other than these sights are freaking awesome. I highly suggest that you check them out. They do cost a little bit more than other sights that I put on, like for instance, like the Mepros, right? But with all the things that are really positive with them, okay, a good high vis front end if I want to pick stuff up a little bit faster, a good sized U notch, right? So I can pick up those sights pretty fast, line them up, and make them good to go, and all of that. A good ledge so that I can run this thing off of stuff. I mean, even pockets. And if I'm in a real pinch, I can use the seam of my jeans on my pant leg and run it off of that. You know, they're everything that you essentially need them to be, which is great. And they're nothing that you don't need them to be, which is also good. So, if you want to come out and train with us, we certainly have a lot of classes available. The next nearest one that's available is in May. Right? And we're going to Del Rio, Texas, right? We got a few guys signed up for that already. So if you want to, we're doing Pistol 1 out there. If you want to come out and train with us out in the Texas area, because you guys have been beating me to death about West classes, you can certainly go ahead and sign up there. We have a lot of other classes that are available too. Like, for instance, we have our main Rifle 1 and 2 class coming up. Correction, that is in Montana. That's where Rifle 1 and 2 is. We have Pistol 1 and 2 in Maine coming up as well. And another one that's on the schedule is low and no light class out at Bud's in Lexington, Kentucky. And that's where we can turn off the lights at will because it's at an indoor range, all that stuff. So guys that are begging and trying to borrow and steal time to shoot in the dark, you'll get plenty of time with us when we do this class. That's a non-prerequisite class also, by the way. So if you have no training, trust me, you'll be fine. We formatted the class to where you won't be intimidated by this, I promise you, kind of a class. And for guys that have experience, trust me, we find ways to make things better for you when you come out to come see us. So there's that. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can absolutely do that. We're still funding soldiers to come in and train with us for nothing. And the very large sum of that money from Patreon goes square towards those guys. And it helps them out because we pay for, food, bullets, travel, all that stuff. And if you want to make it easier for you as far as coming out and getting self-defense training and stuff, what you can do is you can sign up for $35 a month through Patreon. And what that allows you to do is take as many courses as you want from us for as long as you're signed up to that. And all you got to do is a little bit of math. All you have to do is a little bit of math, figure out what our full price for class is, and you'll figure out how fast that ends up paying for itself. And for guys that are already on the $35 a month program and want to sign up for a class, shoot me emails. We'll go back and forth. We'll get you scheduled, and we'll get you situated. Additionally, if you are a school resource officer or a teacher permitted to carry in your school, we teach you guys for free forever. So there is a little bit of a verification process. We will have to shoot emails back and forth. But if you fit into that category, we can absolutely get it set up to where you can come out and train with us for nothing. Okay. You are bringing your own bullets and gear and stuff, but you don't have to pay as far as class tuition is concerned. You don't have to pay me anything forever. So, last thing, if you want to join us on the discussion page on Facebook, it's still available. And screw these people. I highly suggest that you check us out on BitChute, because I'm migrating all of my stuff there, or the most prominent stuff there at least. By the way, Full 30 sent me an email. I'm starting the process to get hitched up with them, so I'll be on Full 30 before too terribly long here. And with all of that being said, remember guys, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy.